Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Josh.
And I just died in your arms tonight. Must have been something you said.
Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe something I'm about to say. This is our special bonus episode where we're going to talk about DC Universe Rebirth. Does it have a number? Number 1?
Yeah.
I think it's only number 1. But we're going to talk about it. Geoff Johns, go.
Episode, of course, brought to you by the good folks at Sidekick. Because every good hero needs a sidekick.
It's true. It's an important aspect of heroing.
Yes.
Just on a side note, just real quick, we are, if not already, very soon going to be podcasting. So if that is your preferred format for this kind of thing, check back soon or below. We're just waiting for, the formalities and such. It's already on the books, ready to go. So keep an eye out for that. iTunes, Google Play, all that kind of stuff. So let's get into this. Let's talk about DC Universe Rebirth by Geoff Johns and some artist whose name escapes me, and I don't have the book in front of me, so just look it up. You have Google, for Christ's sake, right?
Yeah. So basically, plot-wise, I'm sure all of you know this shit by now because it was, it's like a big deal for some reason when it happened, but all the characters in the DC universe have lost like a decade's worth of time because of Flashpoint. And so Wally West gets trapped in the Speed Force and he goes around seeing if people remember him so he can be pulled out of the Speed Force because they have to say his name unprompted, I guess, before he can escape.
Right. So, first of all, this entire premise is so classic Geoff Johnsian bullshit. It just really boils down the kind of thing about how Geoff Johns writes stories that drives me the most crazy.
Yeah. Even down to like silly little shit, like having a Flash be like the linchpin in between everything. Like Wally West is a terrible fucking like linchpin between all of this shit because he's not really that deep of a character. So, I mean, throughout the issue, and I mean, he's not that deep of a writer, given, but throughout the issue, we get all these, like, narration boxes of what's going through his head and everything, and it's all, like, surface-level shit, it's, nothing important happens within the actual, like, narration of the issue.
Right.
Ever. It's all, like, little bits here and there, and, yeah, okay, that's kind of nice in a certain way, but then, it doesn't come back later, so it doesn't end up mattering, and...
Well, and even more on a basic level, like the very premise that holds this whole thing together, like the science fiction-y element is so cheeseball. Like this idea, okay, he's got to find someone who loves him enough to say his name.
Yeah.
And then that's going to fix the universe, right? Like,
yeah.
Like as soon as he finds the person who has enough love in their heart,
and it's not his wife, it's his fucking like man boyfriend, Barry Allen, loves him more than the woman he married at one point.
Right, it's just so fan servicey, cheesy, and it just doesn't hold up. Like if this was not a comic book that is made to facilitate a corporate decision, there's no way the story gets made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. It's like they came up with the premise after they knew what they wanted from the characters.
To do, right?
It's such a backwards way of writing. It's very. It's this whole thing that DC often does, where there's a mandate first. And then
you just figure it out.
You get a writer to write the words down, right? And to come up with the reason why the mandate happens.
Yeah, there's a little bit of meta commentary, I guess, on that whole. He has to find somebody who like truly loves him and everything because I think it was like Lee or Didio or something said that nobody in the New 52 was supposed to be married because superheroes are supposed to be miserable.
Right.
Which kind of goes into like this whole other thing about those guys not really understanding why, things like the old Alan Moore books were so good. Like, it's not because everybody was miserable of them. It's because they were good fucking works of literature. But in their minds, it's like, oh, okay, everybody's sad in this, so let's make everybody sad.
So people like sad things.
Right, yeah. Right. So we're going to do that.
Right. It's the most surface level, man-child way of understanding literature.
Yeah. Like, I really believe I could give, those books to, like, a tween and be like, okay, tell the difference. And they could probably come up with something better than, oh, everybody's sad in this one.
Right.
And everybody's happy in this one.
Right, I agree. Yeah. I definitely agree. And I think...
And beyond that, I mean, look at the fucking Mark Waid Flash, which Johns even references in there. That is the happiest fucking book I've ever read in my entire life. And It was still great. You know why? Because Mark Waid fucking wrote it, not Geoff fucking Johns.
Right, and he did a good job writing it. He really put some thought into the characters and the characterizations and the narrative flow of the story. Mm-hmm. It's like he came up with the story he wanted to tell before... like sitting down to write it, you know what I mean? Like it's not this Geoff Johns, Zack Snyder, David Goyer way of writing where you come up with the premise like backwards from like a corporate concept, right? Mm-hmm. It feels like it was actually written by somebody trying to write an actual story,
right?
But you did say something about like the meta context here, and I do have to say. First of all, that this is probably the least terrible thing I've read from Geoff Johns, in that at least he's attempting to do some of this meta commentary with the book. He's putting some actual personality and thought into this story, and I have to give him a little bit of credit there, because everything else I've read, the other rebirths and stuff that he's done, I think are frankly garbage. They're really just poorly written, sophomoric fan fiction-y reading stuff.
Yeah.
And this comes off the same way, but at the same time, I do feel like he's trying to make a statement about the way he understands the comic world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, skewed as it may be...
At least he's putting it in there.
But he's putting it in there.
Right. This is really Geoff Johns' voice coming through Wally. I mean, it's really clear. Each page is Wally talking about these different characters, but really... It's very obvious if you've ever listened to like a Geoff Johns interview about what he thinks about all these characters, it's him describing the characters on each page, right?
Right.
So here, here's Barry. So here's what Wally, in quotes, thinks about Barry Allen, but it's really just, what Geoff Johns thinks of Barry Allen. And we get that over and over through each little section here. But at least he's done that here. Right, so that's something. So at least we learned something. Unfortunately, what we learn is how Geoff Johns feels about the DC universe, which is again childish. It's a very immature, immature way of viewing comics and literature in general. Mm-hmm. Right,
or character archetypes for that matter.
Right, right. So I think in a way that's cool. But let's talk about that then a little bit, because let's talk about first of all. The Watchmen are back, right? He's bringing them in, which is interesting to me because obviously he feels like Watchmen and other works like it from that time period, most of the stuff that you and I really love from DC, tainted, in a way, DC Comics, right? Mm-hmm. And then this is sort of his response to that, like how to solve that. But really, wasn't he in charge of New 52?
Yes.
So his response to those was him being tainted by them, right? In his own immature way.
Even before that, Flashpoint. Mm-hmm. He was in charge of Flashpoint.
Right.
Flashpoint was the big, thing that they're all like, okay, we need to, forget this happened and fucking here's the New 52. So New 52 was a response to Flashpoint, and now this is a response to New 52. And now... I see all this shit on the internet that he's trying to take it back and say that we've been chasing the Frank Miller Batman for too long. We've been chasing Watchmen for too long and stuff. And it's you chased and failed 3 different times. Mm-hmm. That's fucking on you, buddy.
Right. Well, I mean, I would say the moral here that he should be learning is stop chasing.
Yeah.
Right? Stop just trying to repeat what other people do. And try maybe writing some stories.
Yeah, well, he doesn't... I mean, if he understood it, I think it would be fine.
Right.
If he understood it on the level of, okay, well, let's get, bunch of the best writers we can, and let's just let them do whatever the fuck they want, and see what happens. And we'll have a couple titles that make the whole like universe thing work, because kids are into like, Batman's going to Metropolis this week. That's cool, but he doesn't understand that doesn't need to be every title. He thinks that's a really important part of it.
Right. Well, and clearly he only views it from this larger perspective as well, right? He's talking a lot about how this is supposed to show how the heart of the DC universe is like hope and love and these kind of things, and they want to bring that back. And that to me is fine. Go for it, right? That doesn't hurt anything. But then you need to follow up with that. You need to bring in writers and, like you said, give them the breadth, the space to go in, and with that in mind,
interpret it how they will.
Interpret it, and then let them have impact on the larger narrative, right? Mm-hmm. Draw the larger narrative out of what these guys are doing with their individual titles.
Right.
Not the other way around. The problem with DC is in my mind, in my opinion, the problem now is still the same, which is they come up with a narrative premise for the whole thing, and then they make all of the writers write to it.
Right.
Whereas what they need to be doing is let all of the writers write.
And say, like, let's look and see where we're at, So, like, okay, we can pull a little bit from this title, a little bit from this title, and
Right, so the Flash is doing this, and Batman's doing this, and Superman's got this going on, Wonder Woman has this, so what does that make happen?
Right.
Right, so because of the way they've written so far, where would that take us? Somebody look at it and now create a story out of how that impacts each other.
Yeah, it's like cause and effect versus effect without a cause.
Right.
Which is, I think, kind of the MO right now. Effect without a cause.
Right.
Hashtag. But the hashtag before.
Hashtag bring back cause and effect DC. That works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally do that on Twitter. That'll be like wildfire. Everybody.
5 mentions on that shit. Tight.
So, do we want to just talk about art on it? I don't think really art is the impact here, but it was okay, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I don't think it really matters. I think a lot of people talk about the new outfits and stuff. I just don't care. That doesn't. Yeah. Does Batman look cool? Look at Batman Beyond's eyes. Like, all this weird little nitty gritty stuff. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
No, it was all fine.
Yeah. So it looked fine. Overall, are you more or less enthused after reading through this? My nose, by the way, if you're watching this video and you see me doing this all freaking video, I don't know what's going on. We live in the Midwest and it's all rainy and weird outside. My nose is super itchy, so I'm sorry if I look like a weirdo. So continue.
I'm really stoked for one thing, and that's Tom King on Batman. Mm-hmm. And this hasn't really wavered that from me. I guess part of me believes that Tom King could threaten Geoff Johns into letting him do whatever the hell he wants. And another part of me thinks that maybe they recognize that he's a good writer that they will never live up to in their entire lives, so they're going to let him do whatever.
Yeah.
But for the rest of it, like, less.
Yeah.
Easily less. Because now I know that they already have an effect and they're working to create a cause. Mm-hmm. Which is the complaint that we've had, like, forever. So, I don't know. The whole premise is supposed to be bringing it back to, like, their loyal fans and give them what they want and stuff like that. But I don't see that. I see the opposite of that happening. So maybe they're not talking about, like, our type of fans.
I don't think they are.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about the kind of people who buy the particular comics regardless of if they're liking them or not.
Yeah.
I think those are... I honestly, truly think that DC feels like those are their bread and butter fans, which I understand why, right? The people that go out and they buy Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and then complain about them but keep buying them, right? It's those people that they're listening to and saying, okay, well, we'll change them so you like them more because you're buying them either way, right? Which, frankly, seems kind of backwards to me. But whatever, I can see why they think that. So, and I'm pretty sure those are people they're talking about because those people have a completely different concept of why they're reading than you or I do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like New 52 Aquaman was good because he was a badass.
Because he was a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah. So, DC Universe Rebirth. Standard shitty Geoff Johns nonsense.
That's it. Don't read it if you haven't already.
Yeah, unless you like shitty Geoff Johns nonsense. If you like the other goofy shit he does, then you'll probably like this too, because it's just more of the same shitty Geoff Johns bullshit, right? That just all the expository dialogue.
Yeah.
Still just as bad as always, right? Almost the whole thing was just people speaking to someone off panel, telling them why they're doing what they're doing or how they feel about the thing they're doing, right?
Yeah, directly.
Yeah, like there's no subtext, no underlying character drama or, character building. There's nothing. No. It's just... Here's why I'm in this panel in the way that I'm in this panel. Yeah. I'm standing here because,
Oh, I'm getting sucked back. I'm leaving now. Rinse, repeat.
Yeah. Oh, no, it didn't work. Oh! Right.
It hurts this time.
Yeah. Just straight up. Just directly. Like, that's a great example. I don't need that. You don't need to say it hurts because the guy's drawing him being in pain.
Yeah.
I see it.
What other sensation would that be?
The goddamn page. Yeah. I get it. I'm not.
Maybe he got really cold, which is why. Yeah. That's what I usually do when it's a bit brisk outside.
Yeah, you would think a guy who's in charge of so much in comics and claims to have read so many comic books would understand the most basic premise of show don't tell. You would think he'd figure it out by now, but he still cannot stand to not put his own goddamn words over the shit the artist is drawing, right?
And really, I mean, you're supposed to tell what you can't show. And there's none of that either. So.
Right. Yeah, it's just egomaniacal, narcissistic garbage is all it is.
I really believe, I mean, we say this a lot of, like, well-drawn books and stuff in different contexts and whatnot. This isn't, necessarily one of those really by any means, but just go through it and don't read it. And just look at the pictures and see if you get the same exact plot line. Like, see if you feel like you didn't miss anything by not reading any of the words.
Right. You don't. You don't. I guarantee.
Yeah.
And it's because his shit is so surface level.
Mm-hmm.
There's so little happening that is worth actually reading that it's all just a plot. It's like his entire idea of writing a book is to give you a plot summary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not the action. You never get the comic book. You just get his idea for a comic book.
Yeah. Hey, you're Batman.
Form.
I'm the Flash. You remember me? No. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Wow, Batman's really tough. Like, it's like you were writing down, like, okay, Batman's real tough. Like we've never read Batman before.
Yeah.
So let's tell him how tough Batman is out loud. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, I don't understand you people and your enjoyment of this garbage. It's just beyond me. Is it because it's written like He-Man from the 80s, you think? Or like...
They've never read He-Man from the 80s.
No, I don't mean like the comic. I mean like the cartoons.
Okay.
Ninja Turtles, He-Man, G.I. Joe. How it was all very expository, very direct language. Is it like nostalgia because you're still looking for like that outlet for the childish? Is that what's going on, you think? Is that what everybody latches onto him for?
It might be.
Without understanding that that's why. Like, I don't think most people are going like, oh, this is just like the terrible cartoons I watched when I was a kid.
Right.
Do you think that's what pulls people in and makes them feel like they like it to a degree?
I could actually really see that now. Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought of that before.
It's just like, it's like
they expect comics to be bad. So with that in mind, like, why wouldn't they like it?
Right. Because it's a really good version of that terrible aspect of like childish writing.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's like very high quality. It looks nice. Yeah. It uses adult sounding language, but without any depth or thought to undertones or subtlety, right? It's just very direct, in your face, old school, like child cartoons from the 80s that we grew up with, right?
Sure. Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sick of talking about this shit.
Me too.
See you later.
Thanks for listening, watching, whatever. Bye.